The vast expanse of the galaxy had always been a delicate dance of power and diplomacy, a balance carefully maintained by the Galactic Council for millennia. The Council was an ancient entity, comprised of the most advanced and civilized species the galaxy had to offer. They kept order, resolving disputes and ensuring that no species grew too ambitious. That all changed the day the Deathworlders arrived. The term Deathworlder was whispered in the dark corners of the galaxy, a name given to those who hailed from planets so harsh and brutal that merely surviving was a feat. Earth, the homeworld of humanity, was classified as such a place, a deathworld where hurricanes, earthquakes, and predatory beasts were just a Tuesday, and where the planet itself seemed determined to cope the weak. The Galactic Council had largely ignored the humans, seeing them as little more than a curiosity. How wrong they were! For centuries, humanity had quietly expanded beyond their homeworld, not through conquest or aggression, but through resilience and a tenacity that defied odds. They were adaptable, survivors who thrived in environments that other species wouldn't dare to set foot in. But their ambitions had grown. Rumors had spread of a human fleet, massive and powerful, navigating the stars. Some dismissed it as exaggerated tales from explorers who had ventured too far into human-controlled space. Others saw it as a minor concern. Then one day, without warning, the fleet appeared on the Council's doorstep. The Galactic Council had gathered for a routine session, and the first reports came in. Sensors had detected hundreds, no, thousands of ships emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the core systems. At first, the Council dismissed it as a mistake. No one had the resources or the sheer audacity to send a fleet into Council-controlled space without permission. But when the human ships powered up their engines and made a direct course for the capital planet, the Council's confidence began to falter. Admiral Zara Cole stood at the helm of the flagship Resolute, her steely gaze fixed on the planet growing larger on the view screen. The fleet had been prepared for this day for decades. Humanity had no intention of being ignored or underestimated any longer. They had come to claim their place among the stars, and nothing was going to stop them. Status report, Zara commanded, her voice calm and steady despite the tension in the air. Fleet is information, all systems operational. We are on course to arrive within the hour, replied her first officers, Lieutenant Vasquez. Zara nodded. Good, open a channel to the Council. A holographic image of the Council chamber flickered to life in front of her. Representatives from dozens of species sat in their ornate seats, their expressions ranging from concern to outright fear. In the center, the Council speaker, a tall, feathered being from the Xeran species, stood with a mix of indignation and panic. Admiral Cole, the speaker began, his voice quivering slightly. You are in violation of Council law by entering our space without permission. Explain yourself, or we will be forced to take action. Zara's expression didn't waver. Council speaker, I come on behalf of the human race. We seek recognition as a major power in the galaxy and a seat at this very council. The chamber erupted in murmurs and whispers. The idea of humans demanding a seat of power was laughable to some, but the sight of their fleet orbiting the Council's homeworld silenced any notion that this was a bluff. The speaker raised a hand to quiet the chamber. You cannot simply arrive and demand a place here. Power is not taken, it is earned. You may have a fleet, but that does not make you a force to be reckoned with. Zara's lips curled into a cold smile. Power is exactly what this fleet represents. Humanity has earned its place through blood, sweat, and survival. We've built this fleet while the rest of you watch from your comfortable worlds. You've ignored us for too long. That ends today. The speaker looked like he was about to respond when one of his advisors rushed to his side, whispering something in his ear. The speaker's eyes widened, and his feathers ruffled in alarm. Our defense systems, the speaker stammered. You've disabled them. Zara folded her arms. Consider it a demonstration of our capabilities. We could have attacked, but we didn't. We're not here to conquer, but to negotiate. You can either welcome us to the table, or we'll ensure that the galaxy knows what happens when you refuse diplomacy with Deathworlders. The room fell silent. The council members exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of the situation settling on them. This was no longer a simple matter of politics. The humans had shown they could strike at the heart of the council's power without firing a shot. It wasn't just their military might that was terrifying, it was their sheer willpower, their refusal to back down even in the face of overwhelming odds. Finally, the speaker spoke again, his voice much quieter this time. "What are your terms?" Zara's smile widened. "It's simple. Humanity wants a seat on this council, full recognition as a sovereign power, and a say in the future of this galaxy. We've earned it." The speaker hesitated for a long moment, then finally nodded. "The council will discuss your request." Zara's eyes gleamed with triumph. "Do that, but remember we're not going anywhere." As the transmission cut off, Zara turned to Vasquez. "Hold position, let them sweat for a bit." The arrival of the Deathworlder fleet had changed everything. The balance of power in the galaxy was no longer something to be maintained by the old powers. Humanity had arrived, and they weren't just survivors anymore, they were contenders, and the galaxy would never be the same. The council chamber was never designed to accommodate fear. For thousands of years, it had been a place of debate, of calm deliberation among the galaxy's most advanced and peaceful species. Conflict was rare, and outright war even rarer. Yet now, the chamber was gripped with an unmistakable sense of dread. The humans had come in event the council had never truly believed would happen. They were supposed to be a fringe species, barely significant in the grand scheme of things, but the sight of the Deathworlder fleet in orbit around the council's capital shattered that illusion. Hours passed since Admiral Cole's ultimatum, and the council was still locked in a heated debate. "They have disabled our defense grid," shouted Ambassador Villor of the TIF coalition, his reptilian eyes wide with panic. "If they wanted to, they could bombard us from orbit. How can we even consider negotiating with them?" "We must consider the long-term ramifications," argued Ambassador Tyrna of the peaceful Norovari, her voice calm but firm. "Humans may be unpredictable, but they are not conquerors. They've come to negotiate, not to destroy us." "Yet," Villor hissed, "they haven't destroyed us yet." Ambassador Tyrna sighed, trying to maintain her composure. "What's clear is that humans are no longer the backwater species we once thought. They have power we cannot ignore." The council speaker remained silent, his sharp eyes scanning the room. He was no fool. He knew the council's military might had become symbolic over the centuries, and most member species relied on diplomacy and treaties to maintain peace. In truth, the galaxy had become complacent. The human fleet was a rude awakening, a reminder that survival still requires strength. Finally, the speaker rose from his seat. "The humans have proven their capabilities, whether we like it or not. They have forced their way into the galactic arena. We must now decide, either we grant them what they seek, or do we risk a conflict that could destabilize the entire galaxy?" There was silence for a moment, then a voice came from the back of the chamber. "We should be cautious." It was Ambassador Faxes of the Shulax, a species known for their cunning and pragmatism. "Grant them a seat, but ensure it is with conditions. Humanity must not be allowed to act without checks and balances." A murmur of agreement swept through the room. It was a compromising way to bring the humans into the fold without giving them too much control. The speaker nodded. "Agreed. We will offer humanity a seat on the council, but with limited influence. If they accept, we can begin to integrate them into the galactic order. If they refuse," his voice trailed off, the threat left unspoken but understood. Aboard the Resolute, Admiral Cole watched the council's deliberations with cold detachment. She had expected resistance. The council was old, stagnant, and fearful of change, but humanity didn't have time to wait for the galaxy to catch up. "Think they'll bite?" Vasquez asked, standing beside her at the command console. "They'll bite," Cole replied, her voice confident. "They're scared, and fear makes people predictable. They'll give us a seat, but they'll try to box us in with restrictions." Vasquez grinned. "They have no idea what they're dealing with, do they?" "No," Cole said, her eyes narrowing, "but they will." As the hours dragged on, a transmission finally came through from the council. The speaker's image flickered into view once more, looking every bit as uncomfortable as before. Admiral Cole, he began, the Council has come to a decision. Humanity will be granted a seat, but with certain conditions. Your influence will be limited until you have proven that you can act in accordance with our principles of peace and cooperation. Zara raised an eyebrow. And if we refuse your conditions? The speaker hesitated. If you refuse, we will be forced to take further action to protect the interests of the galaxy. Your fleet is formidable, but you cannot stand against the combined might of the Council's member worlds. Zara chuckled softly. Further action? You can't even defend your capital from us. What exactly do you plan to do? The speaker's face hardened. Do not mistake restraint for weakness, Admiral. Humanity may be powerful, but you are still one species. The galaxy is vast. Zara's smile faded, replaced by a steely determination. We didn't come here to be patronized. Humanity has no interest in playing by your rules. We've survived and thrived in conditions that would break most of your member species. We've earned our place through our own strength, not by begging for scraps at your table. The speaker opened his mouth to respond, but Zara cut him off. Here's what's going to happen, she said, her voice icy. You're going to give us a full seat on this council, with the same rights and privileges as any other member. No conditions, no limitations, because if you don't, the next fleet you see won't be here to negotiate. The chamber fell into stunned silence. Even the most hardened diplomats couldn't hide their shock at her boldness. Vasquez leaned in, whispering, You think they'll back down? Zara didn't take her eyes off the screen. They'll have no choice. Back in the council chamber, panic had set in once more. The humans were far more aggressive than they had anticipated. The idea of negotiating had seemed reasonable, but now they faced the possibility of outright conflict. We cannot allow them to dictate terms like this, Ambassador Villor hissed, his scales rippling with agitation. And yet, if we push too hard, we risk provoking them further, Ambassador Tyrna countered. They have already proven their strength. We cannot afford a war. The speaker remained silent for a long time before finally speaking. Admiral Cole, the council will reconvene. We would take your terms under advisement. Zara leaned forward, her expression unyielding. You have 1 hour. After that, we'll take action. The transmission cut off, leaving the council in stunned silence once more. The speaker turned to his advisors, his voice trembling with frustration. What are we dealing with? These humans, they're unlike any species we've encountered. Ambassador Faxes, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. They come from a world of death. We should have expected nothing less.